Have you ever wondered why some businesses run so smoothly while others are like a train wreck?
Started Narrative Coffee in 2015, and we've been building better systems ever since. They have to be able to multitask so that they can make coffee and ring in orders at the same time. And we invested in things that I knew would give us our best chance at return. A lot of people put their retail after the point of sale, which never works.
How much are you spending on an average month for advertising?
Nothing. I call it Instagram bait because it just makes for better pictures. So anytime people cross paths is a time where you lose efficiency.
We're going to show you guys how to start a coffee shop, improve its efficiency, and expand to multiple locations. So let's go say hi to Maxwell. Maxwell, tell us when you first opened Narrative.
Yeah.
And the reason you got into coffee. Tell us the story behind that.
Totally. Yeah, I'll start with the reason why I got into coffee. I was just had a really amazing latte one day at Zoka Coffee down in Kirkland.
Okay.
And it blew my mind, and I just got super into it and started researching it and learning about it and just invested a ton of time into it. And
no prior coffee experience,
Nope.
No barista experience,
no,
none of
no
that.
business experience, nothing. Just super into it. And
I tried that coffee.
yeah, it was great. And then we opened Narrative. We launched a coffee cart on July 4th, 2016.
Okay.
And then we opened our brick and mortar, which we're sitting in right now, on June 9th, 2017.
2017.
Yeah.
So you've been here for a number of years.
Yep.
So tell us, when you first opened, what was the biggest struggle or a business problem that you faced?
Definitely that we were underpriced. So COGS were just really high. So we were basically either not making money or losing money every time we were selling something.
Okay. Why don't we share how you solved that problem later on in the video, so you guys keep watching, because Maxwell obviously has solved that.
Yeah.
And now you're flourishing. Let's talk about systems or SOPs that have helped you overcome your early challenges as a coffee shop operator.
Yeah, one of our bigger things that we spent a lot of effort on is developing a full spreadsheet where we keep track of all of our costs. One thing that's really easy to happen is you just go to the store, you cost something out once, and then you feel like it's set for a while, and then you don't look at your costs again for a bit, and all of a sudden everything has gone up, and now you're throwing money away. So we built a spreadsheet that tracks the raw ingredient costs and takes every recipe in the entire store, breaks it down by each ingredient. So that way, whenever we do a quarterly audit of our COGS, that way every time one of our ingredient costs goes up, it's reflected in every recipe cost. So that way we can stay on top of our costs at all times.
Is that automatic connected to your provider, or is that a spreadsheet you created within Google Docs?
Yeah, we use an Excel spreadsheet. Yeah, so it's got multiple pages. We have like a master page that has every raw ingredient, so like flour and milk and butter and all those sorts of things broken down at a gram level, and then we weigh everything, so everything is done by mass, so that way we're really consistent, reduces our waste, and then we also know exactly how much of each product goes into everything, and we account for everything from takeaway with cups and sleeves and lids. All those small costs, they all add up.
I want to add value to our viewers who maybe don't have that system in place. What can they do today to get that in place and start saving, start making more?
Yeah, definitely. I think that, one, they can email me. I'd be happy to help them with that. We could share that sheet with them.
Wow, you guys, he's willing to share that sheet with you guys. So
Maxwell at narrative.coffee.
There you go.
But then also, if you just want to build it yourself, it's not too difficult. You just go in and find all your ingredients, break them down by the weight, how much you paid for it, and then make a unit out of it. And then every time you use that ingredient in a recipe, you just include that unit.
You opened your second location. Did you do anything differently as compared to opening up this one?
Yeah, it was sort of a different situation that we were coming into. It was a coffee shop prior, so we had to do some construction things that were around making it work for our systems and how we operate. But as far as the systems themselves and how we do things, almost everything is identical. Our food menu is slightly smaller, just given the constraints of the space.
Gotcha.
But everything's pretty much similar.
How did you know you were ready for a second location?
We have a really strong team, so I knew that we had good managers in place that could facilitate continuing to run this place well. I have always tried to take the work myself out of a job type of an approach, so I knew that we had really strong managers here. We got a great manager up in Bellingham. Obviously, having cash position was an important thing, so we had kind of financial benchmarks that we were looking to see before we were ready to expand.
Let's talk about the cart. What was the cost costs to get that going? How do the costs break down if somebody wanted to do the same and start there?
Yeah, totally. It kind of depends on the situation. Mine was kind of a unique situation in that I was gifted the cart, and it had an old espresso machine on it. It was like 80s era cart. A local church had it, and it was just taking up space in their basement. And they knew that I was into coffee, so I offered to take it off their hands, and they let me. And so I renovated that cart with the espresso machine on it. I put about $300 into replacing all the parts. Yeah, I had like a $1,500 startup loan that I took, and so I started the cart with $1,500 with all of our inventory and everything.
Free cart, $1,500 for inventory. Yep. What would it cost someone to buy a cart? Would you?
Depends on the volume that they're planning for and expecting. A high volume cart will cost 15, 20 grand.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, with a trailer and all that. To do it right. If you can be a little more low volume, you can make it work for 2.5, 3 grand. Any
tips, tricks with regards to starting with a cart?
Yeah, totally.
Cons?
Yeah, I always recommend people, if you are looking to start a cart or some sort of mobile operation, view it as a marketing opportunity, not as a finance driver. They tend not to do incredibly well as far as like raw numbers go, but they can really build a loyal clientele and just a group of people that are really passionate about what you're doing. And those people become your core, and they get excited about your brands.
So let's talk about the key ingredients to an exceptional customer experience for a coffee shop. What stands out?
I think there are two. There's a very simple one: welcoming people in when they come in, so saying hello and saying goodbye when they leave, and then also figuring out and determining how to ask questions and create an experience based on where the person is at.
Give me an example.
So for example, some folks, when they come in here, they're wanting like a full coffee geek experience, and they want to like geek out about the coffee, the individual like varieties, where it was grown, how it was processed, all that. And some folks just want their coffee and they want to get off to their day, right? So like learning how to read that, training our staff to give that experience based on how people want to be served really creates a great experience.
All right, well, let's give you guys a quick tour, a walk around of how you set the place up, why that's important. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, the first thing is the guest experience always. So walking in the door, what are they seeing? I'm seeing people hanging out. Couches here. Then over here, we've got our kind of retail shelf. That way, when people are waiting in line, there's something to look at, something to grab. A lot of people put their retail after the point of sale, which never works in coffee shops. Should always
retail
be in front.
before point of sale.
Absolutely.
That's important.
And then, this is kind of where we order with our pastries over here, and then our point of sale there, and then our filter coffees, the ones that we make by hand, are right there. That's really important because it takes a barista hand time. They have to actually hold it and make the coffee.
Why here then?
They have to be able to multitask so they can make coffee and ring in orders at the same time. So that's really huge. Then that wraps around here to where the barista is stationed when they're making espresso drinks, that sort of a thing. This is all built just tight enough to where one person can work it by themselves, or you can have multiple people working in it together without getting in each other's way. Oh, hey, Paul, let's go get some supplies real quick, and we can chat a little on our way.
Awesome. Let's do a supply round with Maxwell. We'll show you guys where he gets, what he gets, and what it costs.
Yeah.
So you have a pretty unique process of choosing your roasters, and you change it every 2 months.
Yeah.
Tell our audience why you do that and where the idea came from, really.
Yeah.
And what does that do for your business? Sorry.
Totally, yeah. So we're really focused on taste and experience, and it's really easy for people to get caught up in branding and all sorts of other things that make people feel a certain way about a given roaster and that sort of a thing. I think that cup quality, so just the flavors themselves, are the most important thing. It creates an experience for people. It also means that sometimes coffee shops get branded by the roasters that they serve, and they don't build their own brand.
I see.
So I wanted to help avoid that by creating a system that's unique to us, that helps us keep our quality really high, which serves our values. Also helps us build our brand equity with our guests, and knowing that they're going to get a consistently great experience with us, regardless of whatever roaster we're serving at the moment. They're going to find the best possible cup that they can get.
So what's your total monthly revenue here at this location in Everett?
Yeah, this location's doing upper 70s, low 80s every month.
Per month. Is the industry for you, or for you specifically, let's focus on that, is it pretty steady, or is there a seasonality to high summer, super low winter? Why would that be?
It depends a little bit on the location. Our shop here tends to do a little bit better in the summers, with a small dip in like early fall, or mid-fall, I guess, and then picks back up, and then dips right after Christmas, of course. So it kind of just depends on the location, though. If you're in a place that's got a really big downtown summer traffic, then you're probably gonna be busier. But coffee shops historically tend to do well in the winter because it's warm drink, people want to be inside. But I would say the industry as a whole tends to be a little bit busier during the winter times.
Okay.
We're a little bit busier in the summer times here.
How much are you spending on an average month for advertising?
Nothing.
You're not spending anything?
Nope.
How are you advertising your brand, your coffee, your experience, everything? Which platforms give you the best ROI and bring in more people?
I would say Instagram has been our primary driver for most of the time that we've been open. It's a really good way to stay connected with our guests regularly. That's been really great. We also use Facebook. We're gonna start diving into TikTok a little bit, I think, at some point. Being not native to TikTok for me means I got to find some folks on my crew who are gonna do a great job doing that. So,
are you asking customers somehow to leave a review or post a picture? Is it like on cups? Is it on a business card, or does it just happen naturally?
This happens naturally. I think part of it's you got to create places where they can. So, the design of the space is built around it. There's great lighting in here. That was all very intentional. When we designed the space, we included lighting as part of our design process because it just makes for better pictures overall.
Makes sense. Yeah.
I call it Instagram bait.
Instagram bait?
Bait. Yeah. Okay. So just little things that help people, have a nice place to take pictures because people want to share what's going on in their life and the experiences they're having. So having good places to do that makes a big difference. So it naturally encourages people to do it. It's architectural influence, I think they call it.
For somebody that wants to get into the coffee industry, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's a card or a smaller place, but they don't have much money.
Yeah.
What advice would you have for them? Are there options out there?
There are. If you do start on your own and you start small, it's a good idea to work for somebody else for a while first. Learn the ins and outs of the business on someone else's dime. I think that really makes a big difference. And then, you got to redo your research more because there are a lot of small costs that show up. Those things can really hurt you. So doing your due diligence is really, really huge when you don't have a big budget.
So if you don't have a ton of money, obviously you're not going to be able to start big. Start somewhere where you can.
Exactly. Start small. Start with what makes sense. Find somewhere else to pop up. Like if you're trying to start a cart, find a barbershop to post up into, or find somewhere that people are that you can kind of get out there, start building a strong foundation for your business, and then just build up years and get some experience doing it.
What about break-even point? When you got started, what was your initial cost here?
Yeah.
The build out, everything else.
Yeah, we took out a loan for about $290,000. The build out itself cost us $181,000, and then all the equipment was another about $65,000, $70,000-ish, and then operating capital, just to buy inventory, float labor, all that sort of thing.
Did you have a plan on how soon you wanted to see that back? And if so, what was the break-even point when you got all that money back?
Yeah, definitely. We broke that point about 6 months in revenue-wise.
Wow.
Yeah. And the overall initial investment, we were really high value oriented in terms of what we invested in. We invested in things that I knew would give us our best chance at return.
What do you mean by that high value? Like equipment? Or is it the
equipment, definitely. Efficiencies and systems on the bar. So we weigh all of our shots, and instead of having to manually futz around with a scale, we have a scale that's built into the espresso machine that automatically turns off the espresso once it reaches the right weight. We have high efficiency grinders that work really well. So we put money into those things because those are primarily where our income comes from. So the total throughput that we could process in a way that was still keeping quality high is much higher with those equipment investments than if we were trying to save money on something like an espresso machine. That's the place where it's ultimately going to hurt you the most.
Why are systems super important for a coffee shop?
Systems, they provide a structure and a framework for everyone, and they keep you kind of on track, and they force you to keep looking at metrics, paying attention to things. And I think they really help you have a handle on what's happening in your business at all times. They also help reduce waste. They help increase efficiency so that way your staff are able to work more effectively and efficiently, which creates more value in the business as a whole. You can then share that with them and have more for yourself. It's a win-win at every level.
All right, you guys ready to do Blitz with Maxwell? It's super frigid out here, but it's fun. All right, at Product Design Online is asking much do people really care about the coffee beans, like type, quality versus the overall experience and consistency?
Well, I think they're tied together, but research by the NCA says that they care second most about quality, first most about convenience. So
okay, awesome. Alfonso Sandoval is asking, what was your strategy as a beginner coffee shop owner to compete with the well-known bigger coffee shops?
I'm playing a different game. So I'm not trying to have the same product every single time people come in. I'm trying to create a fun experience for people every time they come in.
At Aria is wondering, how would you go about finding a GM or assistant manager for your current store if you decide to scale and build another shop?
We are deciding to scale, yeah. I really try to hire from within. I try to give my staff the most opportunities that they can, so that sometimes looks like investing in their education. So that's a big one. But if not, then the big question for me to ask is what do I need from a person, and what qualities am I looking for? Figuring out a process that helps you determine those qualities along the way instead of just in one interview.
Havana Day, I think that's what it says, is asking, what systems, simple as they may be, do you have in place that allow your business to be sustainable without micromanagement? Yeah. Maybe we mentioned that in the interview, but if anything else.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think having checklists and those sorts of things are really important. Honestly, the biggest one is easily communicating your values. So our values, we use them as a rubric for decision making for our staff, specifically so that way we don't have to micromanage people.
Last question, what's your favorite business book or books?
Yeah, my favorite business book is Let My People Go Surfing by Ivan Chouinard, the founder of Patagonia.
Let My People Go Surfing.
Making sure that people feel valued and that they know that they're a part of a team, and people want to work at a place where they believe in the vision of it, the mission, and why that place exists.
So let's talk about the food and the services that you offer. How did you come up with that? Who's the inspiration and so forth?
Yeah, totally. On our food side of things, that comes 100% from our chef. Her name is Megan. She's got some experience in food for a while, and she just loved what we were doing and just wanted to help. And she kept pestering me about doing a food program here, and finally was confident I could pay her enough to do it. And so then we said yes, and it's become a huge part of our business.
What's the best seller? Give us a couple things that people just tend to love.
Yeah, our food items or coffee items?
Both.
Both, yeah. As far as coffee goes, like a 12-ounce espresso milk is classic. We also sell a lot of filter coffees, which are made by hand, and then just straight up espresso we sell quite a lot of here. Mm-hmm. And then as far as food goes, our breakfast burritos are really popular here, and then our buttermilk biscuit sandwich. We make all of our biscuits by hand laminated, and they're really flaky and tender, so we sell a lot of those.
How do you manage your time as a business owner of multiple locations? Any time management tips, any apps you use to communicate with all the people working together?
Yeah, definitely. We use a lot of systems in the company. We use Homebase for scheduling, so all of our staff get scheduled through that. It helps communicate it, tells everyone what the schedule is at all times. We use Slack for team communication, and then we use Gusto for payroll, which is really very easy. I usually will try to sit out throughout a week and figure out and prioritize what are my most essential things that I need to get done this week. What are the things that are of next importance? And I try to structure them in that way. And I try to think of my time in terms of what can I specifically do that nobody else within the company can do.
Makes sense.
Try to attach as much as possible. I estimate a dollar amount for how much economic value I'm adding per hour, essentially. So the things that are higher value are things that I tend to focus on. And the things that I need to get done that nobody else can do are the things that I focus on. So delegating, ensuring that we have good roles clearly defined. We have good job descriptions for all of our staff, so that way everything is getting taken care of. Mm-hmm. And then I have staff that pick up slack, and they just, if they see a problem, they fix it.
How many employees do you have, and what's their average pay?
Yeah, so we have 20 full-time employees for the whole company. 12 of them work here in Everett, and then 8 work up in Bellingham. The average pay for most of our staff right now is $16.50-ish per hour plus tips. So
split tips, or is it?
Yeah, everybody splits tips equally across the shop. So
have you done it the other way? I was always wondering, because sometimes certain people split, sometimes they don't.
Yeah, we started with the other way.
You did?
Yep. And our food crew asked if they could be cut into the tip pool, and our staff voted on it and agreed to it. And it took a little bit of a hit at first, and then it picked back up to where it was, and has now exceeded where it originally started. So
Probably helped the morale, I would think.
it does,
Right.
yeah. It helps everyone feel, because our team, our food team especially, is so involved in the overall process of serving our guests, running food out. You know, it helps everybody understand that we are working as a team to create the best experience for guests. Helps break down that, like, that's not my job mentality that sometimes happens when we all kind of realize, like, our work together is for the purpose of serving our guests and making people feel welcomed. So everybody takes ownership of that.
As far as must-have equipment, obviously the espresso machine. Well, how much was the espresso machine, for example?
Yeah, the espresso machine was $17,400.
No? Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. And the
like a
grinders, yep, it is like a vehicle. The grinders are about $2.5, $3 a piece.
What else is a must-have? Just, you know, even if it's a small-scale operation.
Grinders are really important. So grinders and espresso machines are where you should put the bulk of your money, because that's the bulk where your business is coming from. You should additionally buy good fridges, because bad fridges break down and then you have to repair them all the time. Other things than that is having a good POS system, making sure that it's connected to stable internet is really important, because when that goes down, you can't make money. And then if you're in a place where people want to sit, you got to have good Wi-Fi. You got to have good internet.
Absolutely.
Because that's how people use coffee shops.
And you have awesome furniture here, too.
Yes,
So that's a must-have, right?
Yeah, guest experience, right?
If you could go back and give yourself the younger version, even though you're pretty young, 31.
Yeah.
The younger version, a piece of advice, what would it be? One or two things with what you know now?
I think the first one is to continue investing in yourself and to learn to say no sometimes.
Yeah?
Yeah, not take every opportunity that comes to you.
Have you had to do that?
Yeah, there have been a few location expansion opportunities that we've passed on that seemed like they make good sense, but weren't quite they were close, and they just weren't slam dunks.
Because that could make or break you.
Yeah, especially when you're small.
Yeah.
You know, when you think about it, if you have one location and you go to two, one of those fails, that's 50% of your business.
Right.
If you have 10 locations and one fails, that's only 10% of your business. So making your steps carefully at the early outset is important to me.
So these are the cups. How much we're getting? 600 of them.
Yeah, these ones are about $100 a case. That's up 35% from where it was just 2 years ago.
You know, you could go through those pretty quick. Like myself, during the interview, I used one cup and I wanted to go for a second because I threw the other one in the garbage. So I was like, how do you make that more efficient?
One of the big ones is having as much reusable as possible. Encouraging people to bring reusable cups if they're planning on going elsewhere. And then we just do a lot of dishes.
Profit margins. Where are they at on the high to the low? And I'll elaborate.
Yeah, it depends on what we're doing specifically. Coffee is a really high labor activity. You know, it's like when you go to a bar and you have a beer. You know, it takes a bartender 25 seconds to pour a glass of beer, versus it takes a minute and a half of someone handcrafting everything here. So labor's higher here.
Good point.
So, but on our low ends is probably the things on our retail shelf. You know, 30% profit margin for most of our retail items.
Okay.
And then, you know, like our profit margins are closer to like 300-400%. That's gross profit, so just minus COGS. But overall, you know, what we're shooting for as a business, our profit margins are about, on a good year, is about 10%.
That low?
Yeah.
I thought it would be much higher than that.
Yeah, the industry standard for restaurant, food and beverage is about 10%.
For somebody that's doing carts right now, but is thinking to go brick and mortar, what was your story? Why here? What's important as part of the coffee shop industry?
Every good business has to fill a need, period. I mean, a lot of people, it's particularly folks that are interested in opening coffee shops, it's been a dream that they've had for a really long time and that sort of a thing. I think sometimes they miss the importance of filling a need. Everett had a need for specialty coffee. There was nothing like what we're doing here. It has a strong community of people who care about their products. We have close access to a lot of farms, a strong brewing scene, but there was nothing like this. So it seemed like a really amazing opportunity for us. Also, the commercial rents are really low here compared to the rest of the Puget Sound region.
Okay.
So it felt like we were in a structurally stable place from a business perspective to be able to take a chance on doing something that nobody else had done here before.
So potentially, if you have a problem, hey, there may not be a system in place. That's where we're having this issue.
Exactly. Yeah.
What it boils down to?
Almost always, all of the problems that you run into are generally related to systems outside of personal conflicts within your team.
What is the number one thing that you struggle with as a business owner today?
Yeah, businesses are often attached to personalities, and I definitely notice there are certain things about my personality, just how I operate, that are weaknesses. And one of those things is that I tend to have a lot going on in my head, but I don't always share it. So one of the big efforts that we've been making this year is just to improve our company communication to our staff and creating better systems for that communication.
Anything else you want to highlight when it comes to social media, exposure, Instagram, for those running coffee shops? I want to get in the same industry.
Yeah, definitely. I think for like brick and mortar locations, for coffee shops, staying on top of your reviews is really important. What I mean by that is responding to them, taking time to take them seriously. You should treat reviews not just as the interaction with the person, but also anybody who's looking at the reviews too. I think that's really important. Overall, word of mouth is the most important thing for a brick and mortar retail business like this.
Gotcha.
When people are excited about an experience, they want to tell their friends, and that's the best advertising you can ask for. So we also are getting ready to work on like email marketing for online stuff. So we're trying to take our online component of our business a little bit more seriously. We didn't have space to do it here, and so we just weren't able to capitalize on that. But we have just secured a space to be able to connect with guests that maybe have moved or they believe in our brand, they want to buy our coffee and the ways that we buy our coffee. And so we're getting ready to launch a subscription service, those sorts of things, where email is going to be a much more important part of our business strategy.
So no email list yet, but that's in the future.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
How many hours a week do you work then on that note? Do you have to go between here and Bellingham often?
I do, yeah. I'm up in Bellingham twice a week. It depends on the week. I would say my average week is about 60 hours a week. Some weeks I'm up in 75. Some weeks I'm, chilling at 35. It just depends on the week. But
A father of two.
yeah, father of two.
How do you work-life manage that? Because that's important, right?
Yeah, it is.
You burn
It's
out, you go
huge.
crazy. So what are you doing?
It's seasons. We tend to roll things in and do family time while other things are happening. So like last night we were here. My daughter has a unicycle parade tomorrow, and she was decorating her unicycle here at the shop while we were working on stuff. So they kind of get combined.
Learn to blend them.
Yeah, exactly. And I try to protect my time with my kids and my family as much as possible.
Any last pieces of advice to people in all kinds of industries, or maybe specifically the coffee industry? What would you say with all your experience?
Oh man, I think investing in people is really huge. Everything comes back down to people, relationships, community, your staff is super huge. So continuing to invest in relationships and people is really important, and take care of yourself. Yeah, I think those are the two big things.
Don't burn up.
Yeah.